I'm here with Peter Dager of Nouns Esports. Peter, could you give me a quick introduction to Nouns Esports for those who don't know about it?
Hi, I'm Peter. I'm one of the leaders at Nouns Esports. We've been an esports team that's been around since fall of 2022. We are a DAO funded esports team, which essentially means we go to a DAO and pitch proposals for funding to do this thing. So this team started with a proposal to sign a Dota 2 team for 3 months, and we've just grown in traction ever since. And this past year, we shipped a proposal to the DAO for over $2 million, which allowed us to sign some of the best esport teams in the world and hire a full-time support staff to really turn it into something a bit more.
I didn't realize that the Dota team was the first one that you signed on. And this year they were at the International, which is probably as far as you can get in esports. Can you tell me a little bit about how that experience was for the Dota team and what were some of your personal highlights there?
Yeah, so the team started with the Dota team for a 3 month contract, essentially. And that was really just kind of like a trial test run. During that period, Nouns Esports beat TSM, who was sponsored by FTX at the time. And this was before the blow up, of course. So the founder, 4156, sent out this tweet saying, oh, the decentralized DAO beat the centralized exchange, and all of the crypto bros that are part of the DAO who don't even like watch or care about esports that much, they got a huge kick out of it. And that led to another proposal to re-sign the Dota team for another 6 months to see if they could make it to the international that year. And we've had great success, plenty of luck. But our Dota team has continued to find its way to the international, which is the biggest Dota 2 competition of the year, for 3 years in a row at this point. So they've really been like our hood ornament, right? They've really brought the brand further than anybody thought it would have gone before.
It was also the only North American team that made it, right?
Yeah, we were the only North American team. There was only one slot available through the qualifiers, and that's been a bit of the story of our team this year. There's another team, Shopify Rebellion, backed by Shopify, and they were kind of beating us earlier in the year, qualifying for a lot of tournaments over us, which was stopping our team from getting the best practice that they needed. But we ended up beating them in the final two biggest qualifiers of the year, which were for the Esports World Cup in Riyadh and the International in Copenhagen.
What about some of the other teams that you have on your roster? I know there's Super Smash Bros, Counter-Strike. Can you go into the story of each of those and how they're faring?
So we got into Counter-Strike last year. There was a team that had just got dropped by their sponsor, really like out of the blue, and they were sort of distraught by the position that they were in. They were trying to raise money through a GoFundMe to get a boot camp together in Europe before they had to play at an event in Sweden. And we reached out to them and said, hey, cancel your GoFundMe. We'll fill it up. We gave them $10,000 to pay for their boot camp, and they repped Nouns Esports at the event, albeit they didn't win. But we're Dota people, we're Valve ecosystem people. Counter-Strike is a game that we've all played a ton. I used to play a lot of 1.6 way back in the day. That was really my game. And so that kind of just created the relationship with this new group of players and team. And we've just continued to work with that group, made some iterations along the way. We included them in our 2023 Nouns Esports proposal, and then again in our 2024 Nouns Esports proposal. We were ultimately in Counter-Strike, our goal is to qualify to the major, because when you
Mhm.
qualify to the major, you get the in-game stickers, which are like kind of like these digital assets on the private Valve blockchain. And they live on forever, or as long as that ecosystem exists, which is 10 plus years at this point. So that's like kind of our North Star for that program. And we were literally one game away at a previous qualifier to doing that. And they've got another qualifier in China in November, which is kind of the big event for them coming up, that we're, seeing if they can make it happen or not. Smash Brothers, we started the year not really being too into Smash. We've always had this one player named Aklo, who's
Yeah.
from Long Island, and he's kind of been right around like ranked number 10 in the world. But there's not a lot of money in Smash Bros. And most of the players' money has to go towards like travel and accommodation. There's Smash Brothers events every single weekend around the United States. Some are bigger than others, and the players try to generally go to 1 to 2 major events around the country each month. So yeah, we really just been like helping him get as much practice as possible and helping him rank up, which he's been doing really great. However, we were utilizing Prop House, which was an old Nounish app that was built that was designed as kind of like a small grants system where people could essentially like a marketplace or like a competition or maybe a battlefield for ideas.
Hmm.
So there would be a prompt and everybody would submit proposals related to that prompt, and the best ideas would win. So whoever was, whatever tokens were assigned voting power over those particular rounds, they would determine the winner of those rounds. And so we are trying to like empower our community to decide things for our organization in hopes that they feel better connected to the organization. So we were using Prop House to determine travel grants, player sponsorships, and tournament sponsorships. So we kind of had these like open rounds where people could come in and tell us their ideas, and then everybody who was like a token holder, which was done through like a Google form application within our Discord, we would just send their wallet a token, which would allow them to vote. We saw a lot of traction coming from the fighting game community because these were not ginormous grants. These are like $1,000, $2,000. It's not enough to sponsor a Counter Strike or a Dota tournament, but it is enough to help that FGC event, fighting game community event, sort of like break even.
Yep.
It's a very like passion fueled industry where operators are not really getting any profit themselves. They are spending tons of sweat capital trying to make these events happen because they love what they do and they love their community. So if we can play a role in just helping them not lose money, it will incentivize them to keep going and do it again next year, which I find very uplifting. That is all I'm ranting, but that leads me to where I'm going. Is like we saw all the traction that we were creating within the fighting game community, and we really started to double down on Smash Brothers Melee in particular. That's a game similar to Counter Strike 1.6. If you're in that like 28 to 32 or 35 range, you probably played
Yeah.
Counter Strike, Dota, Smash Brothers. A couple other titles are pretty popular for that. StarCraft, right? That generation. So we're big Smash fans, and we picked up Cody Schwab, who was one of the, if not the best Smash Brothers player in the world. And we picked him up to really kind of just help the reach of our grants programs that we were running. And so he has been very useful in making sure that our grants are reaching the largest audience possible. So we've had at times we'll have like 20 plus players submitting proposals to find sponsorship to go to the next big event, which has been great. And we've also been doing lots of software development, which we can get to later, I'm sure. But Nouns GG has kind of adopted, or we've built a version of Prop House on our website. Prop House
Hmm.
was like this on chain version that was built by another operator within the Nouns ecosystem that was inevitably sunset. But we loved it. The fact that it was on chain kind of made it like a little bit clunky and hard for some of our users to have like a seamless first Web3 experience. So we basically built our own off-chain version on our site, and we've had like explosive growth because of that. We've distributed over $40,000 in grants through 30 something proposals, and we've had over like 7 or 8,000 users participate in our programming through our website, which is, we see that as like very, very successful.
There's not much connection between the gaming community and the Web3 community when it comes to finding skilled users of things like Prop House. As far as I know, Prop House for Nouns Esports is a Nexus, right?
Yes, correct.
I just wondered if you could give us kind of a overview of Nexus, how people have reacted to it. Have you managed to onboard more gamers, non-Web3 users?
Yes. So people learn in steps. They only learn so much at a time. And we're kind of just like leading them to inevitably where we want them to go. which is kind of empowering them with this like on-chain, more engaged digital experience. So our website, and I mentioned it before, the goal is to bring people along our journey with us, make them feel like they are a part of the organization. And we try to do that through decentralized governance, which is like kind of another word. It's like a crypto word for community voting.
Yeah.
And so how do you join our community? You make an account on Nouns GG. We've done our best and we're still making progress on better gamifying our website. We want Nouns GG to become a game within itself. And we've introduced an entire ranking system with 9 different ranks. There's a leaderboard, and there's you can earn experience to rank up by voting or proposing on rounds. But we also just introduced a questing system, which is very much like an education tool or an engagement tool to really tell people how can you better support Nouns Esports. If you like what we're doing, here's a very tangible way besides just like giving us money or buying a piece of merchandise. Here, watch this video, learn about Matcha, learn about Nouns, check out our latest tweet about the tournament that we're running next month. Give us a retweet, give us a share. So kind of just leading people to being better fans. They're happy to do it, but a lot of people just don't know how to. So yeah, essentially, when you complete the quest, you gain experience that moves you up on the leaderboard. And the higher you are on the leaderboard, you'll get like a new Discord rank, name color, and badge, which is just kind of vanity. But you also gain additional votes on all of the rounds. So we've seen a handful of people, a handful of gamers, right, who have started to like figure out that like, oh, hey, there's a game on the back end of this. How do we game it? Humans are always trying to break systems. So, we've seen, like, we call it like the Canadian cabal, which is like a group of Canadian Nouns Esports fans who have their own private Discord, who are, kind of coaching each other and saying, hey, guys, there's a new quest available on Nouns GG. Make sure you go do it, because when the tournament sponsorship round comes up, they want the tournament in Toronto to get sponsored, not the one in Idaho.
It's also kind of what you want to happen, right?
Definitely. I love when there's like sub communities created, and I want our community to lead us wherever that traction is being created. So if they want to take us, if we become a Toronto esports organization because the Canada cabal decided that's what they want to do, I'm here for that. It's part of the journey and the experiment.
As soon as you bring the gamification into it, then people want to be part of Web3 because they see it as another game.
Yeah, I think gamers are suited very well to adopt crypto. There's a lot of games to be played on all different kinds of levels here, and they have a good understanding of tokens, because these tokens sort of exist in a very like Web2 format within just about every single game that they play. They're also digitally native, and many of them are also very digitally savvy, which makes them well suited for adoption. They're also online all day, every day. And a lot of these people are looking for more engaging experiences online. And I do think that crypto can play a large role in creating those opportunities. We just need people to empower those experiences in a popular way, I guess. Like, a lot of culture is like jumping on the bandwagon or finding where's the party at and joining the party. And there aren't too many like parties happening on chain for esports and gaming audiences yet.
It's kind of packaged in a way where it's super beneficial to that group of people. One of the big announcements in Nouns as a community recently, not just Nouns Esports, was the Nouns token, a fractionalized NFT. Could you tell me a bit about how it works and what it's doing on a macro scale, and then also from the Nouns Esports side, how do you see it benefiting your community?
Yes, this is a very controversial topic. I don't know if you know this, but this token is supported by some, not by all. It is kind of like a third party to Nouns DAO. I wouldn't say it's like officially endorsed by the DAO in any capacity, but a handful of people thought that it would be an interesting experiment, potentially a good path forward. It's definitely had its challenges, and I can get to those in a second. But The nouns token, as you mentioned, is a fractionalized noun. So, you have the auction one a day every day, the noun NFT. That is equivalent to one vote within the DAO. That noun, you can choose to swap it into 1 million noun tokens if you'd like. And there's a handful of nouns sort of sitting in the, I guess, liquidity pool for that token. So if you got 1 million nouns tokens, you can swap it for a noun. So I think part of the idea is like people within nouns would be paying people in nouns or charging for products with the nouns token. And as they, increase their nouns, let's say they get to 600,000 nouns tokens, instead of having to go buy a noun at auction, which is like 3 ETH at the moment, they could just buy the leftover 400,000 nouns tokens from, from a DEX, right? Like Matcha, and they'd be able to get their noun that way. And that has not played out incredibly well. There are some challenges around there not being enough liquidity for that token, which makes buying that token in mass quantity almost impossible. Same thing with selling it. So that's a real challenge that is some people are trying to navigate. We are, I would say, Nouns Esports, we try to be like model citizens, so to say, for Nouns DAO. We want to support everyone within the DAO that we can. We've got Quack and Lola on our jersey. We've got Nouns Coffee on our jersey. We used to have like Little Nouns and Prop House and all these different like Nounish teams, and they weren't paying us to do that, right? They were just kind of voting for us when we'd ask for money from the DAO. So it wasn't exactly like a direct commercial partnership, but more so us trying to create exposure for the rest of the ecosystem, which is part of what we were tasked to do in the first place by starting an esports team. Mm-hmm. So we are trying to, if people decide that this nouns token is important, the success of this token is important to the DAO, we will push in that direction. But we've also thought about kind of doing our own token and sort of just being in charge of it ourselves and not necessarily having to worry or rely on the rest of the DAO to be aligned with our goals. One of the challenges with the Nouns token is it's directly related to the price of the auction, which is often related to the amount of money within the treasury. So if like a lot of proposals pass within the DAO and the treasury starts, getting, the treasury just lost 10, 20, 30%, right? That nouns, the price of the auction is going to go down to reflect that. And then so is the price of that nouns token. So if we were sort of trying to say like, hey, gamers, come buy this nouns token, you're going to be able to buy a jersey with it, right? Or a coaching session with one of our players. That token might be changing in value, and somebody who bought a bunch of it and was saving it up to unlock one of these experiences, or maybe trying to buy a noun for themselves, that nouns token, it can just fluctuate in price by a lot, which is, one of the things that really scared a lot of people off in 2021 was they were onboarded through buying these very speculative assets. And this token is very speculative, I would say.
The reason I asked that question was maybe bringing people into the Nouns DAO from outside Web3 would be like the end goal. Is that something you would agree with, or is it more just about getting people that first touch with Web3?
Yes, I think it is a lot about getting that first touch. We are very like top of funnel. We do a lot of onboarding to Coinbase, Rainbow Wallet, some of these like very first steps that you need to sort of begin your crypto journey. If people ask, right, or want to know more, we definitely are willing to share, and we'll go down the crypto hole as far as they want to go. But we try not to like shove like buy our NFTs, buy our tokens. That is not the sort of top of funnel marketing that we're distributing. We want to, be creating high quality experiences for users to engage them. And when they get very engaged and want to learn what's underneath the hood, that's where we offer as much education as possible. We have been able to attract people who already know a lot about crypto, but maybe didn't know anything about Nouns or Nouns Esports. And when they learned that like this awesome cultural thing that they like, gaming, has, you know, this NFT project has this esports team, and they can just buy a noun at auction or on secondary to join the DAO. That's appealing to a lot of people, and they like joining. Like I look at Nouns as like a social club almost,
Mhm.
who just kind of congregates to like determine where to move money. We have onboarded quite a lot of people to the DAO, without sort of like very directionally saying, hey, buy this NFT. A lot of proposals go out, and they're often trying to target bidders or builders. And I think that we've done a great job of bringing both to the DAO, more so than most of the other proposals. If I'm trying to be a little competitive about it, we're also one of the best funded, right? So of course there's higher expectations and conversion
Yeah.
rates. But you know, as I mentioned, I think the gaming audience is great for crypto. I think people in gaming don't have enough money or don't have enough things to spend money on that they care about, and digital assets that offer vanity and clout and governance, right, within a thing, I think is potentially like very appealing and cool. So more better digital programs with better digital products that exist outside of the games that they play, I think is a great path forward for figuring out how to monetize a notoriously difficult industry to monetize.
Now you have the Little Nouns Esports as well. Is that an initiative that's split off from Nouns Esports? Can you just tell me who's behind it, what
Sure.
it's trying to achieve that Nouns Esports isn't achieving, and what kind of games you're playing as well?
Yeah, so the longer we've been in Smash Brothers, the more we've connected with different groups of people and different players, and we've created a lot of positive traction. But we can't just like put everyone on payroll and sign everyone. However, we do sort of have access to or education of how to access money that most groups in like Web2 and esports don't have. So the idea of a DAO where you can just submit a proposal saying, "Hey, I do this, give me that," and you just, you know, it just goes on chain and people vote on it. You know, it's a yes or a no. There's sponsorship is always so nebulous, but a DAO is very direct, I guess,
Yeah.
straightforward. Getting something to pass can seem nebulous at times, I think, if you're not well connected, but no system's perfect, right? That initiative was started by Ohan, who is kind of our event director for our Smash events. Like he was a part of Proposal 534, which him and I worked on, which was to run the Smash events for Nouns Esports. So that was a secondary proposal that Nouns Esports shipped this year. We've been onboarding some gamers to Little Nouns, which is essentially another Nounish DAO, but the token price is much smaller. You know, you could buy a Little Noun at any time for like 0.03 to zero point zero 0.06 Ethereum. So it's like anywhere between $100 to $300. A noun, you know, it's like 3 ETH, right? It's a little bit outside many people's price range. The Little Noun is like a little bit more affordable to like a first time user who might want to have like a first DAO experience. So we've been able to get some of our Smash players to buy Little Nouns, and then Ohan kind of shipped this proposal alongside two other Smash players, Junebug and Plup, and that was to basically sign them for I think a 4 month period, give them some salary to represent Little Nouns at these big Smash Brother events that they're going to, and also to run a round on Nouns GG where two players from Asia would get funding to come over to Seattle, which is where this tournament in November is, to participate in a US event they probably wouldn't have been able to come to otherwise.
Matcha has been sponsoring Nouns Esports, and from what I've seen, Farcaster has also taken some role in sponsoring Nouns Esports. Is that correct? And can you tell me about how that came to be, and if you're looking at other sponsorships as well out there?
Yes. All right. So yeah, Farcaster is not a commercial partner, so they do not pay us to be on our jersey. We just find a lot of alignment with what they're doing, and we have been trying to direct our audiences to Farcaster or Warpcast because that's where the nouns community really lives. And it is a DAO, so we have to show our impact. So one of the best ways for us to show that we're onboarding people is to bring people to Warpcast
Hmm.
and get them right, and have them start posting in Nouns channels or esports channel or Dota channel, whatever it may be. So yeah, they are not like a direct partner. We'd love to be a direct partner if they ever decide to start spending on marketing. That'd be awesome. But at the moment, that is not the case. We are looking for other sponsors and partners for sure. We would love to sort of fill out our like crypto stack, so to say. Like we want the centralized exchange. We want the wallet. We're doing everything on base at the moment because we like that ecosystem and we like building on it. But like we would definitely move to like another L1 or L2 provided the tech was like functional. If somebody wanted to, help sponsor and help us create more and better esports programming. I think we've got to get more of our community on chain first and get them comfortable with crypto to really kind of create greater rationales for some of these sponsorships at the moment.
How have you learned, say, from the Matcha sponsorship? How has that helped inform your direction here?
I think the leap of faith that Matcha took with us was fantastic. I think that a DEX is kind of like a layer deeper than that top of funnel.
Yep.
I think when people get into crypto, they're usually like buying maybe Bitcoin or Ethereum for the first time, or maybe some random shitcoin that somebody told them to get. And that's sort of like their first experience. Once they're a little bit more comfortable holding tokens, provided they just don't paper hands and sell them right away, maybe they go another layer deeper where they're starting to look at NFTs or some of these, less popular tokens.
Yeah.
And I think that's where like, Matcha plays a role, right? As a DEX, right? You could buy just about any token that's out there. Whereas, you can't really access those on like a Coinbase or Gemini, for example. Getting people to use Matcha, it's been challenging for sure. But we just launched our questing system, which rewards people for making a swap on Matcha and also doing like a Nouns token swap on Matcha. So kind of like two birds, one stone there in some
Yeah.
ways. I think our Web3 savvy users, they're like, oh yeah, sure, no problem. I'll do that. Give me a sec. Like no big deal. And then some of the Web3 curious groups, I think, are learning about how to do these things for the very first time, which is really awesome. And then like the Web2 audience, they just don't have enough incentives to jump into crypto quite yet. So we've been running tournaments. We do the Matcha Cup, for example, and we pay all of the contributors, the staff that run the production, all of the players that win prize money. All of that is in USDC. So
Hmm.
people are getting, we're basically forcing people to get more familiar with how all this stuff works. And I think its time will come. I think the world is tokenizing more and more things. It's hard to argue against some of the advantages that crypto and tokens are creating for the world. Here in the US, we're like a little bit spoiled by a more stable economy, but I see it around the world. Crypto is just becoming more and more mainstream every single day. So I'm optimistic for the future, and I think that we are doing a decent job of getting Matcha's name out there. So when people do start to look, oh, where can I swap tokens or where can I buy these tokens that my friend was talking about, they might choose Matcha over another DEX because they've heard of it before.
There's an interesting feedback loop that happens is we sponsor you, you try and present us to the users. We find out that the users have no idea why or how to use Matcha, or let alone a wallet. And then we learn like, oh, actually, we should probably fill in some of those materials. And how do we support Nouns Esports in educating people? That's experience you only get by trying. It's been beneficial on all fronts.
What you said there is right. Like, this can be like a good learning experience for both of us. Like you guys get sort of these top of funnel engagement opportunities, and you have to sort of creatively think like, how do we access these new communities? In crypto, people often always fight for like that small subset of users that are already here. But if we as in crypto, right, sort of succeed and reach closer and closer to like mass adoption, then this we're all still very early, right? Not to be too cliche, but we're a very, very small subset at the moment. Originally, part of our pitch was like, oh, we're gonna get everybody at Nouns to like use Matcha, and I think that even that has been like particularly challenging, mostly just because of how busy everyone is within their own lives. The decentralized nature of what we do is kind of hard to bring stuff and find support even within our own community. Many people's proposals, they think they get everyone's support right on the vote, and then when they actually go to like execute what they said they were going to do, they're like, where's everyone? I thought you guys wanted this. I thought you guys wanted to buy this thing. Like, why is nobody buying it? It's like, well, we're sort of most people are expecting you to like reach outwards and find new people and build your own community in your own direction.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Peter, and have a great rest of the day.
Thanks for having me.